profit-taking in this market. I mean, you know, you're getting $2, $3 a pop on crude oil, and so it's not all them, it's a lot of speculators in here just, you know, driving the price up.
But while traders profit, consumers in the U.S. and elsewhere pay more for fuel. That means less money for clothing and food. And with their fuel bills on the rise, companies are charging more for those goods. Then there's the impact on the economic recovery.
Cutting back now in the United States, both on consumer demand and on investment demand, in the sense that these are factories and companies we're talking about, company demand, will slow down the recovery.
Thus, the reasons for the growing pressure on President Barack Obama to sell some of the nearly 800 million barrels held in government reserve, to assure people the political upheaval across the Middle East won't affect them.
The issue here is disruption. Is there a major disruption in the flow of oil? That's obviously a factor.
Other reasons why oil is expensive: increasing demand from China and India. But perhaps the single biggest factor affecting prices is fear. Fear that the prices will keep going up, and fear the regional instability will spread east to the Gulf. Rosalind Jordan, AlJazeera, Washington.
Now, Shia Muslims in Bahrain have been staging more protests against the country's Sunni royal family. But on Monday, the protesters also focused their anger against the U.S. Around 200 Shia protesters held a rally outside the U.S. embassy demanding that Washington end its support for the monarchy. The protesters have also been camping at Manama's Pearl roundabout since last month. They've only won minor concessions so far. Yemen's opposition coalition is vowing to ramp up its protests against President Ali Abdullah Saleh. This after he rejected plans that he should step down this year. Meanwhile, there have been more riots in the capital, Sana'a, but this time in the city's prison. Hashim Al-Bara sent this report from Yemen.
Violence broke out when inmates started chanting anti-government slogans, asking President Ali Abdullah Saleh to step aside. At that moment, security forces fired tear gas canisters. Gunshots were heard. We were told by an inmate that many prisoners were injured. However, authorities remain tight-lipped, saying that this has nothing to do with the political situation in Yemen. However, security has been beefed up outside the prison, which is one of the largest incarceration facilities in Yemen. This comes against the backdrop of increased tension here in the capital and also across the country. The opposition is putting more pressure on President Ali Abdullah Saleh to stand down this year. President Saleh still maintains his position that he is willing to resign in 2013 when his term comes to an end, and that before that deadline he won't respond to the demands of the opposition, and that the only thing he can offer is a national dialogue to try to work out a roadmap for a peaceful and stable future of Yemen, something which has been rejected by the opposition.
Malaysia's High Court has turned down a request to use DNA evidence in the trial of the country's opposition leader. Anwar Ibrahim is accused of sodomy. The DNA was considered vital evidence, but the judge has ruled it out because he says it was obtained unfairly and so cannot be used in court. This is the second time Anwar has faced such a charge. He was convicted in 1999 and served prison time for sodomy, but he was released after the courts overturned the conviction in 2004. Now, today is International Women's Day, a celebration of the economic, political and social achievements of women around the world. And throughout the day, we'll be bringing you a series of stories about inspiring women. Melissa Chan kicks us off after a visit to meet a software engineer in China who's achieved great things in what is a traditionally male-dominated industry.
Welcome to Baidu, the reigning champion of online search services in China, offering basic search, but also picture searches, video, audio, news, maps. There's social networking, shopping, online dating, a universe of internet products. The company emulates Silicon Valley culture, and it is in these spaces you'll see some of the brightest, most innovative workers in the country. One of the top engineers is a woman, Wang Menqiu.
I'm in charge of the major search services and developments. The latest technology we're working on is a parallel to cloud computing called frame computing, meant to be an internet-based platform to process information to provide a faster experience for the user.
Meng Qiu considers Google a competitor and believes Baidu succeeds because it focuses on the basics. She holds a unique position, a female leader in a conventionally male-dominated discipline. The 35-year-old graduated from prestigious Peking University, worked as a software engineer in California, but decided to return to China and joined Baidu in 2002. She argues that it's only at places such as Baidu, innovative and forward-thinking, that a woman would have the opportunity to come this far. The catch is, the chance is there, but will you and can you take it?
Women made up a quarter of my class at university. I know our class fared especially well, but I know other groups where the women didn't end up sticking to engineering. It's a tough discipline that requires constantly keeping up to date, and social pressures and expectations on women are such that many end up doing something much easier.
In China, like many places around the world, a husband's career is still seen as more important than the wife's. Meng Qiu acknowledges she's lucky for having a supportive husband, but admits that the long hours required of Baidu's research and development team deters many women. Mao Zedong once said that women hold up half the sky, but at many companies in China, that's not necessarily the case. What Baidu shows us is that of all places where women can find opportunity in China, it's in the fast-paced tech sector. Melissa Chan, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
A Mexican water skier set a new world record in Acapulco. Fernando Reina Iglesias was towed by a helicopter, touching 246 kilometers an hour, beating the previous record of 217 kilometers an hour. He is now the world's fastest barefoot water skier. Still ahead on Al Jazeera, the latest from Libya.
Leaders are remembered, be they loved or feared. But what of the men and women whose hands build their monuments and whose blood stains their battlefields? People in power, at this time on Al Jazeera.
From the ancient traditions of the written word to the power of photography and expressions of identity through dance, art is a constant feature of the human landscape. An underground theater group fights for democracy. Blind musicians make their mark in Bangladesh. Palestinian teenagers develop a photography project with kids from the other side of the wall. Across the world, art transcends physical barriers. Artscape, at this time on Al Jazeera.
Homes have crumbled and many buildings have been left just empty shells.
Tensions are high. Riot police trying to control thousands of Greek protesters on the streets of Athens.
A British court has approved the go-ahead for WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to be extradited.
The Gaddafi is waging a war against the Libyan people. They are killing civilians mercilessly. They're using ammunition, live ammunition.
It was a revolution which ended half a century of autocratic rule and inspired a wave of public protest that swept across the Arab world.
Internet, Facebook, Twitter, they were not the revolution.
In an exclusive two-part documentary, Raghi